We have been live again. Hi, 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 world. I'm super excited to see you all again here today on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, wherever you're tuning in from. It's so nice to be here again. I was so looking forward to this live just because of the topic. If I was 20 years old again, I think every one of us looking back at this time has some memories about work, what it was like, first job experiences. So I'm super excited to discuss this topic together with my dear team members. Maija and Patricia. And it's funny enough because Patricia is the youngest one. So she's actually still in her 20s. So I'm curious to hear what she's going to tell us about her first work experiences. But yeah, welcome today. This is our bi weekly format, Three Smartists in One Room, where we look back to our social media posts from previous weeks and give you a bit of a more insights and behind the scenes into the post that we wrote, why we wrote them, what triggered us to write the post, and then, of course, we'll deep dive into little statistics, impressions, comments, and stuff like that to see what is performing well, what's performing less. But welcome, ladies. Thanks for joining me
Welcome.
today.
Welcome,
Hello.
welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
Great.
Great. It's the summertime here in Latvia, so we are
Yes.
all enjoying it.
Absolutely. And you said it right. We are all enjoying it because today we are all in Latvia. And I know this room right now looks small because it's just three of us here. As you might have noticed, we have a new setup, and that's the fourth person sitting in this room behind the camera, Erzin. So shout out to him for this amazing setup today. Woo!
Seriously.
But yeah, we have four posts ready for this week that we will look back at. Two from Maya's side, two from my side. And yeah, Patricia is there to join the discussion. And of course, guys, use the chat, any tool that you are tuning in from, to ask us some questions, to join the discussion. Um, the more of you are there joining, the happier we are. But yeah, let's deep
Mhm.
dive into the first post.
Let's dive in. I believe it's gonna be mine.
Voila!
And what a story. Oh my goodness. So if we are talking about when I was 20 again, my friend was 20 when he did this horrible mistake that I remember till this day. So imagine writing your resume, spending hours and hours applying to so many places, and after a week or so not getting any call or whatsoever, realizing that your number on the resume was wrong.
Ooh.
Imagine this pain. So this is why I always, like, after this story, every time when I wrote my CV, when I sent an email, I have like a paranoia of checking everything twice or maybe three or maybe four times. So yeah, guys, can you imagine doing this and then finding out that your email was wrong or your contact information was wrong? And maybe there was some place that wanted to offer you the job, but they didn't because, whoops.
Oops. Yes, I have been in this situation, or my candidate, and with that myself as well. A couple of weeks ago, they were about to receive the contract, and the contract
Yeah.
should arrive per email. But oops, there was a spelling mistake in the email address.
Oh,
And the funny thing here was, or maybe not so funny, but particularly thing, the fact that the person had to resign. And those were the last days of the month. So you don't want anything to
oh,
go wrong, you know? And
yeah,
of course, we checked it quickly. We managed to get the right email across so that the contract can be
yeah,
resent. But yeah, the delay was, I believe, a day or two, which can
yeah,
make a huge impact. Maybe someone then
yeah,
has to start a month later. And for a business, it's also a little bit tricky because sometimes it
yeah.
involves like penalties and stuff. So yeah, it's
Mhm.
always the small things. And I know I've been telling this also for ages and literally all the time in every discussion, but it's so true. And I very often notice typo mistakes when it comes to the phone number. They were like, "Oh, yeah, I missed
Mhm.
the last number," or "Yeah, the numbers have swapped places," and I'm like, "Yeah, I tried to call you, it didn't work out, and then unfortunately you
Yeah.
need to postpone the phone call, and as we know, time kills deals. You lose out on time, and the market is very competitive, so make
Mhm.
sure that really these things are on point. I think even
Yeah,
the
definitely.
little like typos
Mm-hmm.
then in the text and so are not that important, but the contact details, make sure those are right.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yes, yes, exactly.
definitely.
Measuring 7 times before cutting. That's a
Yeah,
nice
Yes,
so true.
Latvian
So
saying.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That is
very
definitely
true.
true.
Have you
Yeah,
had
so
situations like that, Patricia, also before that you can recall and look back to?
Well, yeah. Luckily, nothing that drastical as your experiences are, either for me personally nor for my candidates. Um, but what I have had experienced is, yeah, wrong phone number where you try to call the person to organize an interview. So yeah, that has happened to me as well. So yeah, as we already said, details really do matter, and it's usually the smallest things
Mhm.
actually.
yeah,
Mhm. So
that
true.
is true.
And also here, I think what got me a little bit scared, and what I also recently see on LinkedIn, is multiple job seekers saying, "Hey, I wrote 100 of applications, I wrote
Mhm.
200 applications, 300, without any feedback or invitation to
Mm,
interview." And I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, you need to search for help. Like, it cannot be that you're not." It's maybe not nice to say, but I mean, if you send out even 20 applications and there is no feedback, I mean, something must be wrong, you know? What I
yes.
would do personally, like, I would analyze how the CV is like, is the formatting fine? Maybe ask an industry professional to go over it. Or if the mistake always happens, a mistake like this, that you are not proceeding to the next stage interviews, I would
Yeah.
definitely also look into my interview tactics, how I'm tackling the
Mhm.
questions, how I sell myself, because it cannot be that in this market, someone needs to send hundreds of applications. I just don't
Yeah.
believe that. Like,
Mhm.
really. So that's
Taking
also
into account
another
that you are
thing.
applying to a position that you are a professional in your field, like if I'm applying to, like, I don't
Yeah.
know, like IT position, and I'm no IT person, yeah, sure, I'm gonna
Hmm.
be getting all the rejections in the world. But if you are
Hmm.
really focusing on what, like, who you are as a professional, and really
Hmm.
applying to those kind of positions, there's really something should be like looked at, because this is a weird scenario, and I've rarely heard that the person cannot get any answer, and if they do, I have had actually candidates or people coming to me and asking, "Hey, if you have the time, maybe I can send you my resume. You can just look over it and just say if there's anything that pops into your eyes that I should be maybe upgrading, or something that is not right." And I have done it a couple of times, and it was actually a great experience to give these tips to the candidates, because some of these things, like for me, are I see CVs and resumes all the time, and I've seen
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of them. And some of these tips that I give are so self-explanatory to me, but to the person, like, he has never thought about it, because the only resume he has ever seen is his resume. So yeah,
Hmm.
Yes,
that definitely can help.
So true.
absolutely.
So true. I like that. Yeah.
Elaborating on that topic, I actually wanted to add, so a trend that I have noticed currently on the market that actually candidates are starting to do is,
Hmm.
let's say, if you are not getting any answers, then also contacting directly the HR manager or the HR, generally speaking, or the recruiter, and saying, "Hey, I have applied. Could you just have a look and let me know? So what's the status of my application?" And that actually always, not always, but most of the time, does the trick as well.
Hmm. I
Yeah,
was actually
definitely.
having, yeah, the same situation yesterday because I have a role right now that I'm recruiting for, and the person was not fitting. So I was just like, I clicked on rejecting them. And then they reached out and they were like, hey, I just received a rejection. Would you mind to share some details why I got
Mm-hmm.
rejected? So this can also be one way to improve. But yeah, I think applying for a new job is a job itself. So you have to really
Mhm.
see, research, adjust along the way, and reaching out to people and following up on the application you have sent is the hygiene these days. It's like taking a shower. You have to do
Yeah.
it in order to get further in your job search. So yeah, I like that
Mhm.
people do that more often.
Yeah,
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 but
that's
absolutely.
true.
a topic we could also
Mhm.
go into detail, I guess, for hours, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. All right, let's move on then
Yeah.
to the next one. Looking back at experiences.
Let's do.
Let's do. I see my brother.
Oh,
He's
I love
coming
this
to visit
picture.
tomorrow, and I'm so, so happy about it because
Oh.
I know, guys, that most of you have been following him along the journey as well because I started sharing some information about him and how he's doing with his career on LinkedIn a couple of years ago, and he's 16 right now. So he is living and working as an ice hockey player in Sweden right now, and the season of ice hockey has finished, and he's back home for the summer. So he's training, studying, so the school distance learning, and what he's also doing right now is working. So he, with being 16 years old, has got his first job. And yeah, I'm super excited about it. And I wrote a post about it because I received a feedback because I asked my mom how he's doing and if they have a feedback from the manager to say what it's like to work together with him. And so I shared it in this post and talked a little bit about money and what would I do if I was in his age, being in my
Mhm.
first job. So yeah, like to give you a bit of insights, I mean, personal stories always get the most impressions, and so did this one as well. So I think here we have around 2.1 thousand impressions, 96 likes, and 6 comments. And it's so nice to read and see that people are sharing their first job experiences. Because what I like about my brother right now is, and I think many people say, yeah, the youngest generation, they're not so keen to work. Like,
Mhm.
speaking of what I see from him, it's totally the opposite. And that was one of the feedbacks that he received, that he doesn't say, why do I need to do that? Like, oh, I'm not meant to be doing these things or so. He doesn't say anything like that. He really just takes the job and does it because everything for him is so new. And I'm so happy to hear that, yeah, it's doing well. And he's happy about the different type of tasks he's receiving. So he's helping um, in my hometown, Liepaja, to open up a restaurant for the summer season. So everything around that, cleaning, painting walls, and stuff like that is his duty. So you can imagine what it's like. It's multitasking, different kind of things, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
myself, yeah, I will go into that a bit more in detail afterwards. But I like that here one guy, Gatis Leitonas, he shared his first experience that he started working at father's laboratory when he was 14, working full time, and what he learned about it. And I think working in a family together with family members is also interesting for the first work experience, because like then dividing the private and work, it could be difficult at the age of 14. And then the sports, how it helped with all the discipline and everything. I think it's amazing. Like for my brother also, I guess the ice hockey gives kind of a discipline when you have to do what, then you have competitions, when to progress. And what was very interesting here, and I know I'm talking a lot right now, is that also Gita's first job experience was in the restaurant business. And I think so many of us can relate with that because one of my first job experiences was also in the hospitality, actually, in a restaurant and then
Mm.
in a guest house. And I think it's really an industry where you learn a lot about people around you because you
Yeah.
get to know different
Oh
kind of
yeah.
personalities,
Yep.
nicer and less nicer, and plus
Hmm.
you get to know more about yourself, like, and discover your personality along the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys,
No,
so I'm
I agree with
curious.
that.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear about your first jobs because I know that it's something that sticks in our memory for the rest of our lives. Like, what were your first jobs and what did you learn along the way that helps you to be where you are today?
You know what's the most important, like interesting thing for me? And now when I remember back at it, I laugh because I thought my first job was something else, but now I remember it was not. So I'm a person who loves to clean. I clean all day, every day. When I'm stressed out, I clean. When I'm happy, I clean. Like I'm the Monica from Friends, definitely. And I do remember one of my first jobs, not if not two, were something along the lines of cleaning. So I was either pick up like I was picking up trash from a seaside. So it was a very cool job. I only had to work two
Nice.
hours a day, and it was outside in fresh air in the summer by the sea. It was like a perfect job, and it started like around 12 o'clock, so I could sleep until noon. So it was perfect. And the other one was at my mom's kindergarten, where I was like, yeah, also like picking up the leaves and making sure that the territory around it was clean and or everything was in its place. And it was also something to do with cleaning. And the other two types of jobs that I was also doing at the beginning were also service jobs, so with people, also again cleaning, bringing
Mm-hmm.
food, bringing drinks, and dealing with people in general. And I was telling
Mm-hmm.
this yesterday to my friend. I think every person should work at some point in their lives, better sooner than later, in the service industry, because it teaches
Totally.
you enormous uh, respect, like level of respect, when you go to these places yourself after. So I've never spoken like unkindly to a service person. I'm always like thank you and please, and using like smiling at them, because I know how hard can it be if there's like one person who is ruining your day just because he's being like arrogant and snobby and so on. So I think these things, these first jobs, they really do put good basis for you yourself as a person for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
So this theme about
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
what is your first job, in my opinion, is crucial. Yeah.
Yes,
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 indeed.
completely agree. Nice
Yeah,
story, Maya.
very nice story. Yeah. I
I
can
want to
relate
clean
also in
something.
so many ways. Yeah. Now we know where the cleaning is now when you're happy and stressed, you know. It kind of that's built in your in you. But I can totally relate because while I was studying, I was juggling full-time studies and the full-time work as a waitress, and what
Mhm.
I learned there was mind blowing. And now when I go to restaurants or cafes or anywhere out, like you said, I really appreciate the service. I know what they're going
Mhm.
through. So if it takes a bit longer, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, the kitchen must be busy, or they
Yeah.
are like having less stuff for today.
Oh
But
Mhm.
yeah,
yeah, it teaches you really a
a
lot.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
actually,
Mhm.
it's interesting what you just mentioned, Lena, because my very first real job, I worked as a shop cashier, as a shop consultant.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was, yeah, I can so like totally relate to everything you just said with, being patient with the people that are standing
Mhm.
behind,
Yeah.
the cash
The
machine, or
counter.
house it.
Mhm.
Exactly, yes. Or yeah, that it teaches you a lot of patience in terms of the people, because you do encounter different people, good people, maybe
Yeah.
less good or fun people.
Mhm.
So yeah, these are very interesting experiences, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
That
Oh,
is
that's so
true.
cool.
So first jobs
Now when
matter,
I
people. It really
Yeah.
matter.
definitely, absolutely, they set the tone of your character for the further professional life,
Yeah,
I guess.
definitely.
I'm a little
Mm.
bit like when it comes to my brother, I know he's juggling a lot, but his first job is now at 16, which I think is quite old for a first job. I know my sister and myself, we started out when we were 13, 14. So I'm
Hmm.
thinking like, hey, you're missing out on so many years of work experience. But okay, it's a different generation. It's a different time,
Yeah, true.
and I'm still happy that he's going through that.
Mm.
But yeah, share us, guys, like in the chat, join the discussion. What was your first job? Like what you learned about yourself, about world as such, because
Hmm.
I'm quite sure you also have a story to tell, and maybe we can make something bigger out of that, a bigger discussion. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's that.
yeah. So
So,
I
Maya,
think
tell
it's
us a bit
time.
more about your 20s.
Yeah.
How long ago was
Well,
that?
if I see what you did there. So it was a few years ago, and I definitely had an interesting time writing my post about if I was 20 again, like what career tips would I tell myself, just because, oh my God, like the experiences I've had, like the type of jobs that I've done. So I'm not like the standard person out there who went from school to studies to doing something in their field. Nothing from that. I haven't studied anything. The only experiences that I have are all exclusively life experiences. So my
Amazing.
language skills, my experiences working in like different industries. I've worked warehouse jobs, I've worked office jobs, I've worked outside. I've done it all, I think, like really. And the most important thing for me, what I would say to any 20-year-old out there who's, or young person in general starting their career out, is you cannot make any mistakes. Even if you go and start working at some job and you're like unhappy there, or experiencing experiencing some language difficulties like me myself now, or maybe some like colleagues that are not nice, or maybe like the types of tasks that you are doing are not for you, that's all experience. So with each job that you are going to do, you are going to be gathering so much more understanding of what you generally want to do, because there are so many people out there that have no idea what they could or should be studying, for example. So what you can do is just go out there and do anything. You will understand gradually what type of jobs are for you and what are not. So you can never make mistakes. That's my biggest takeaway from what I would tell myself if I was 20 again, because this
Oh
is
yeah.
something that puts pressure, like the pressure is enormous from all sides, right?
So
Yes.
true. And life is your best like how to say like mother that you can learn from. I don't know if that's an
Hmm.
expression, but like you said, there are no mistakes. There are only like lessons learned from which you learn,
Hmm.
you conspect for yourself, and then kind of move
Definitely.
on. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think, like we all say as well, it's all about like finding the place where you feel happy and like happy with yourself and the duties that you're having. And if that's
Hmm.
matching, then you're at the
Yeah.
right place and at the right time, right?
Hmm.
And the rest
At least
Yeah.
does
feeling at
not matter.
peace, right? Yeah, and
Yeah.
not
Exactly.
stressed out every day. Like
Hmm.
God only knows. I've come home like after a work day, and I've thought to myself, there's no way I can do this for X amount of time. Like I have to change
Hmm.
something. This is not for me. And that's totally fine because it's life. I mean, you can, as long as you're alive, you can do anything. You can change your job, you can change your careers, even. You can do anything.
Yes.
So when you're just beginning with your career path or work path in general, just remember that don't put too much pressure on yourself. Like there's literally millions of people out there just like you that have no idea what they're doing with their lives,
Yeah.
or what they want to do. So just enjoy life. Try to find something, or try to speak with people who are already in some kind of types of careers, and maybe try to figure out from them like what their experiences are. Maybe there's something that interests you, and maybe by speaking with this person you could like gather some inside knowledge about how it is to be a policeman, for example, or a doctor, or a barista. Maybe that, like, there's so many things out there. Like, what would you guys
So
say to
true.
yourself if you were 20 again, to yourself?
Patricia, what would you say to yourself if you were 20 again?
What
Because you're still
what
20.
would I say to myself 3 years ago? No, but it actually, I'm still going through this phase. I really do feel like it because in comparison, just recently I did my U-turn as well. Because for those who don't know, I actually started my career or initiated my career with medicine studies. So I started to become a doctor and I studied there for a few years. Then I went to veterinary medicine. And, just by a coincidence, I came into the field recruitment. And yeah, I would definitely feel free to say that my family, they were like, oh, yeah, but we really would like you to stay, on the path of medicine, continue. You're going to be a great doctor and let's do that. That's a great profession for you, etc., etc. While, yeah, recruitment, what is that? Is that even like a real profession, like this?
Mhm.
And so there's definitely a lot of pressure, not only that you're putting on yourself, but that is coming also from other people, like your friends or
Mhm.
your family, or maybe from your teachers in school. So the pressure
Mhm.
is almost everywhere. So you just have to stay true to yourself and
Yeah.
really don't care about what others say. Just if it really
Mhm.
does, if it requires to make a U-turn. So don't be afraid. Just make mistakes, see what you like, see what you want to do, and go for it. So yeah, I'm actually having a friend at this very moment that is going through this stage as well. So she just studied and she's now willing to start her own business, but she's feeling insecure about it. And I'm just like, go go for it. Don't, it doesn't matter,
Mhm.
if it's gonna work out or not. You just have to do it, and that's it.
Mhm.
That's so
Yeah.
nice of you as
Great
a
story.
friend to encourage. That's
Mhm.
amazing. But
Definitely.
yeah, I think we can see here, like each and every one of us is coming from a different path, and we are here today together because we have common interests and values, and that is all that matters. And I think I would also tell to my 20-year-old self, do you. Like, you know what's the best for you. You know what you like,
Mm,
what you dislike, and that should be your guiding compass. There will be noises
Mhm.
around you that will try to influence you, but follow the place here that knows you the
Yeah.
best. And it's so cliche, but it's so true.
it's
it's
so
Mhm.
it's
true.
just
It's so
the
true.
the simple way how to say it. So
Mhm.
yeah, do you.
Yeah.
I'm so sentimental, guys.
Yeah.
Right.
But to be honest, like now being in my 30s, I have to say, I don't know how you, Maya, feel about it. Patricia, you're a bit younger in this case, but what I want to say is, like, with what I know and who I am as a person, I feel so at like ease and peace with myself. Like I have
Mhm.
found the place where I am, where I'm happy, what I feel confident about, and it's such a great feeling. I was not in such a state of mind when I was in my 20s, because I was back in uni. I
Mhm.
was having full-time uni and full-time job, and that all in English, and crazy times, right? But
Mhm.
now I'm like, oh, this is not easy on daily basis. It's hard. It's sometimes very hard, and you don't want to get up sometimes in the morning, but then you do, and you're like, yeah, let's do it. So good.
Yeah. No, I can
Absolutely.
relate in some points. Like I, with all honesty, I couldn't say like this is my dream profession. Definitely not.
Hmm.
But still, I do enjoy it. Like that's the most important part. Like I am not waking up every day wanting to cry my eyes out because I have to do this. And there have been times in my life when I've did that. So um And I also think for myself, I always am in the mindset that if anything happens in with anyone in my life or myself, you as a person, you can always adapt. You should always
Mm.
adapt if something happens, like even now with layovers and everything that's going on. If you, even if you
Yeah.
do have your dream job and god forbid there's a layoff and you lose your job, trust me, there is something for you out there that's going to make you exactly as happy as you were before, if not happier. So like, never put all eggs in one basket. In That's just my opinion. That's just why I've always been so flexible. Now when I found my place in the past almost year with Smartist, I really feel, but that's maybe because I'm working with my friends as well. So this is something unusual maybe for some of you out there, but I feel cool doing what I'm doing now, and I do enjoy this. And for most of the people, I would say, as long as you can find something that you enjoy, even if it's not something that you could imagine, like, hey, this is like perfect for me, everything fits perfectly. Like Liene said, there are hard times, but I think that that's always going to be the case in life in general. Nothing's ever going to be perfect 100% of the time. So enjoy what you have, and if something harder comes along, just deal with it and enjoy the life again that you have.
And the good
Exactly.
news
Yeah,
is you'll be fine at the end of the day.
yeah. Definitely, yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah.
Hmm. Ah, yeah. Good times. Good
Yeah.
memories.
Hmm.
All right, let's go on, right? We have one more post left. What do we talk about here? Aha. This is a nice one. I love this post because it says a lot about me in a way. Because all the experiences we just discussed, right, the lessons learned and everything, were kind of combined with like embarrassing moments that we went through in our career, right? And here I wrote a post about one moment or one situation that happened with me that I'm not very proud of, but I
Mm.
have to admit this happened and I stand to what happened to give you a bit more insight. So it was 2018 where I left work, resigned from everything that I was having, from all the contractual obligations, to put it that way, and took a sabbatical to go traveling around Southeast Asia. And I remember that morning so well. Erzin and myself, we were sitting in Bali having a nice breakfast, and this is when this embarrassing professional moment happened. So I kind of did not officially resign from my role at that time. I was taking a sabbatical, but they were like, "Hey, Lena, when are you coming back? We hope you're coming back as quickly as possible." But in my head, my sabbatical was like, I will take a little longer, you know? So I couldn't
Mm.
say if I'm coming back after a month or 2 or 3 months. And the manager at the time, he was like reaching out to me, asking how I'm doing. And I was kind of feeling the pressure. Okay, they want me to come back. So it's not
Mm.
that they are fine with me being away for a couple of months. And I was full of emotions. I kind of knew
Yeah.
that this is going to happen. And to one of these emails, I was just replying over a breakfast, and I was full of emotions. I was telling Erzin about the situation, and I wrote this email to say that I will be resigning, and like I don't mind not having that job, and if there's someone interested, they can take the person, because I know that for a business purpose that would just make sense instead of
Mm.
waiting for when the Queen Liene decides to come back to work, right? So I wrote this email kind of resigning, but it was full of emotions because I am emotional, and I have learned that emotions don't really have that much to do with the professional life. You need to know how to tame them. And back in the days, I didn't know how to do that well. And I showed this email to Erzin, and he was sitting across the table. And I was like, read the email before I'm sending it, and let's do the editing together. And I hand it over, and it sends the email.
Oh
And I was like,
no.
no way. It's like, it can be true. Like, I cannot undo it. Or at least I didn't know how to do it on my phone. And I was like, okay, that's it. Should I write another email saying I didn't mean it? Or like, what do I do? But this was
Uh,
one of these embarrassing moments where I look back and I think to myself, like, Lena, this was not good. And I learned a lot about it. Like, I worked on my emotional intelligence that people like to um, fancily say these days. But yeah, it was something that taught me a lesson, and yeah, it was quite interesting. And again,
Mm.
it's a personal post, and it got 10.2 thousand impressions, um, 44 likes, and 6 comments, and people were just talking about their embarrassing moments. I had a small promotional merchandise company when I was 20, won a deal to supply some branded trophies to a local challenge for their awards night. They arrived. I strutted into their office, really proud of the work, presented to their team. Boom, spelling mistake on an engraved awards. I was gutted.
ouch.
Ended up driving
Ouch.
400 miles the same day to collect replacements from the supplier. Imagine.
Oh,
So,
oh,
Oh, hurtful. This is
so
hurtful.
interesting. Yeah. And also my previous manager at the time who received the email, he also replied here with a comment, can't remember me laughing about it. So it was kind of me thinking that he is laughing about me, but apparently it was not the case. So that was an embarrassing moment. I do have one more, but I'm curious to hear about your moments. I mean, we talked about lessons learned. Tell me about situations where you thought, "Phew, this was not good of me or nice of me." Do you have something like that?
mm,
Um,
um,
I'm a friend of learning from other people's mistakes, and
Good.
maybe and not
Good for
maybe
you.
always committing them myself.
So learn
But
from Maya here.
yeah, definitely, I'm learning from you, Liene. And actually, this is yeah, maybe also a greeting from my former manager, because you talked about emotions and sending emails, and I have been in that situation as well, when you are, excited or maybe angry, or not happy about the situation, and yeah, you're just in the moment and you're writing the email down. And yeah, so I really learned there, or my former manager taught me that you can never, never, ever, ever write an email in with emotion. So that's not an option. You just have to take a step back, go for a walk, breathe fresh air, and then with a fresh mind just come back to it and write the email or make the phone call, whatever. But yeah, don't do it with emotion. So that's what I'm learning from my former manager and from your experience as well, Liana, here.
mm,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
it's yeah, a lesson learned. How is it with you,
Definitely.
Maya? Can you recall some situation
Yes.
like this? Yeah.
Sadly, I can.
Tell us if you
uh,
don't
it
mind sharing.
it's almost no. Like, I'm an open book. I in that way, even if I do make some mistakes or something happens, like, we're all human. We all have these situations where not everything goes as planned. And my biggest professional embarrassment was when I just moved to Frankfurt and I was applying to a recruiter jobs. And I was invited to have an interview with a company, and not only myself, but 10 other people, like, or maybe 11. Like, the room was full of people, me included. And my German was just like even now, like, I have days where my general language skills stuck. I'm sorry for expression, but they are just not coming from the right place. Like, my grammar is, I can hear all the mistakes that I'm saying, but there is no way I can speak normally. So there are days when I speak fluently, and there are days when I'm struggling very, very much.
Cheers
And
to
this was
those
the day.
days.
Cheers to
All
those days.
internationals out there know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I like outside of the story, I did a post about this, and a lot of people agreed. Internationals, this is a common thing between us. There are just those days. That's just a fact of life. So back to this embarrassing interview. I was doing this interview, and they asked me some questions, and my German was not in general that well at that time, but this day particularly I was so nervous, so stressed out, like everything just the stars aligned for everything to go as bad as it did. So they asked for me to imagine that I'm having a recruitment call and that I'm looking for a candidate and I'm offering him a position. At least that's what I understood I had to do. So everybody can hear me, like I'm speaking with this person on the other side and I'm offering them a position, thinking that I'm talking with a candidate. As it turns out, after that, we sat down all in one room and they gave us our feedbacks one by one. So everyone heard everyone's feedback. And of course, throughout this day, I found out like most of the people who were there were Germans. So perfect German, everything was fine. I was maybe one of the three internationals there, but the other two were having, in my opinion, also very, very good German. So my German was the worst, definitely out of the bunch. And they told me, yeah, Maija, so thank you for trying and everything, but you do realize that you were speaking with an HR manager who is looking for someone. He is not looking for a job himself. So basically, like everything that I asked, everything that I said was wrong. And I was sitting there feeling so ashamed of my German skills at that time. And and this was like a day long event. So this was not an hour long interview. We had a few tasks to do, presentation to do, explain about yourself and everything. So at the end of the day, I went home and I thought to myself, oh my God, like just because my skills, my language skills were as bad as they were at the time, this day could not have gone any worse. Did I learn
Oh,
something from this? Yeah, sure. I mean, I do not get embarrassed that easily from that day, because if I went through that and every single person heard my beautifully worstly explained things that I was saying to everyone there. If I could go through that, I can go through anything. And since then, even if I do hear some grammar mistakes here and there, and there are a lot of them, as long as the people understand me, I'm fine. I'm not that harsh on myself. I try not to be, and that's why I'm so acceptable of the candidates that I'm speaking to. And like I'm testing their German, for example, and they think that their German is really, really bad. I'm just reassuring them, hey, I'm not German myself. I have a lot of mistakes in my vocabulary all the time. So feel free to do them, make them, as long as I can understand what you're saying, it's fine. So for every candidate out there, don't be too hard on yourself. Even after
Yes.
10 or 15 years learning German, I still don't have it
amazing.
right. So
Amazing.
yeah.
True.
Oh, what a story.
Long story.
No, but so interesting. I think many people can
Yeah.
take a lot of lessons learned for themselves, and it's interesting to hear what your key takeaways are. So I really like that.
Mm.
So nice.
Yeah.
Okay, oh God.
Hi to all the
So
internationals
cool.
out there.
Yeah, hi to all internationals, really. For myself, just to quickly finish off this topic, I do have another story to tell. One of my like first real permanent jobs after university. I remember our dress code was business, and I was thinking I'm dressed quite businessy, so I was happy with how I was. What my appearance was like, and my team manager wasn't, and she made me notice of that, not by herself but through another manager of ours, to make the conversation, I guess, a bit easier, because yeah, two women talking about their styles and what it should be like might not be the easiest conversation, right? But what it was
Mm.
like is I was quite often. I would say it happened 3 to 4 times. Called to speak with my manager about the way how I was dressed. They were like, "Hey, Liene,
Mhm.
these are not really business-like trousers. You should wear something more like this." I don't know, showing me some photos, and the same like I was having a blazer, but below that there should be like not a nice like top or something in one color, but really like a blouse and so. And yeah, I mean, after the first time, I thought, okay, embarrassing, but I'll try my best. But then when it happened already a couple of more times, I was thinking to myself, damn, you know. But then, okay, I realized at the end of the day that it was not really my kind of environment. It was too stiff and so, but still, I think now I do really pay attention to more how I look like, how I come across to people in professional environment when I'm speaking with my clients and so. So this appearance plays a huge and important role. And I think we see it also with our candidates when they are in interview process that sometimes the manager says, yeah, a nice button-up shirt would have been nicer compared to like a plain t-shirt. And we all get the message, what it means. So yeah, just to add one more personal story to this whole
Mm.
thing. But guys, 46 minutes passed like a minute or two. I think this topic was very in favor um, of us to share a lot of insights, and so many things were still left unsaid because we could talk about this for even longer. So feel free to reach out to any of us and let us know what you would like to hear a bit more about, because we are very
Yeah.
happy to receive suggestions about live topics. And yeah, I would say let's meet in 2 weeks again, and let's see what the topic is going to be then. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely. It
Thank
was
you
a
so much.
pleasure doing this with you guys, like it always is.
It
And
exactly.
thank
was,
you to everyone who was watching and
yeah,
enjoying our
Thank you.
conversations. Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. I hope you found some takeaways or could relate with some of the situations that we have experienced. So take
Hmm.
care.
Absolutely.
Enjoy
Yeah.
the last
Thank you.
30 minutes of your lunch break, and see us next time.